Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is June 21st, 2023, and it is the summer solstice. Welcome to Recharging Chat. I'm Sharon Kimberly Cravens here with my friend, Dr. Luann Morano.
Good evening.
And we're here to pick up where we left off from last call, which is where we are discussing all things related to Lyme disease. And we have a three-part series here. This is number 2. We're going to be talking about diving deep more into Lyme and a lot of different layers having to do with all kinds of fun things. Let me just be vague and say that. So we have a slideshow that we were sharing during our last call, and we're going to just pick up where we left off there. So we'll share screen and get going with bullseye rash.
Yes, the bullseye rash. A lot of people are familiar with the bullseye rash, and you can see the photographs we have up here in the corner of the screen. And depending on the studies you look at, 20 to 90% of the people actually develop a bullseye rash. And according to one doctor, Dr. Kenneth Stroller, he's an MD, and he said if you get a rash, it's actually because you already had Lyme bacteria inside of you.
Right.
So you're having an IgG, which is a chronic response to a new exposure. So if you look at these pictures up here, you see the uniformly red lesion. That's very common. Then you can have the blue-red lesion that sort of appears like a bruise. Then the bullseye target central clearing lesion that has this is the typical, do you have the bullseye target rash? And then the disseminated lesions, which are just, they kind of look like little cupping marks. And then a blistering lesion is just a pustucle in the middle. And then these can be any size. They can be small, they can grow inches in diameter. They could be you can actually have, you had one that was about a foot.
I had a huge one on my, the biggest one was on my breast.
Yeah, it was like, probably about 12 inch in diameter.
It was huge.
Yeah. So again, people think when they get this rash that, oh, I just got bit. Well, yes, but you're actually having a response to, it's an IgG response to the rash, to the stuff that's already in your body.
Exactly. So it isn't like you just got bit, it's just coming up and presenting in
Or
this
stung.
way. Or stung.
Stung.
Right? Not bit. I said bit. Anyway. So this is erythema, and that's what they call it, which is just a redness. And that's how it presents. And it can present in these different forms, in small, medium, large forms of this rash. And this is coming from PubMed, and a couple different other places. So Lyme is known as the great mimicker because it has over 150 possible different symptoms that are associated with it. And the most common and acute symptoms are the bullseye rash itself, fatigue, fever, flu-like symptoms, headaches, muscle aches, swollen lymph nodes, and swollen, painful joints.
Some chronic common Lyme symptoms are, oh, I have arthritis, but it's here, it's in my ankle, and now it's in my wrist, and gosh, my shoulder hurts. And so it kind of moves around the body. And, bone and ligament and muscle pain, just random. Like I have this ache in my leg, or I have this ache in my left shoulder, ligament issues that, like, I don't know, I just have, I wasn't really doing anything, but I feel like I have like golfer's elbow or something. Brain fog and fatigue that gets pretty severe.
Yeah. Difficulty
Sleeping, facial paralysis. You see that whole side of the face drop.
Yeah.
Mood changes. You can just feel, I don't know why, I'm feeling aggressive, or I have anxiety, or I feel depressed. Neurological symptoms, burning sensations, numbness or tingling or even tremors where, you're just, you have a little shake going on in your body. It could be like a muscle tremor, just all of a sudden your muscle starts trembling or your hand starts shaking a little bit. And neurodegenerative diseases, diagnoses like ALS, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, etc. And other autoimmune condition diagnoses like chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, lupus, RA. These are all chronic Lyme symptoms things that you feel that perhaps maybe that's not what's really going on. Maybe Lyme is just running rampant in your body.
Yes. And if you go somewhere and someone tells you this might be your diagnosis, is that the case? Would that be true? How do you know? So we'll get into that. Bartonella. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bacterial infection. It's a bacterial infection, right? And it's cat scratch fever. I'm sure everyone's heard of that. So you can get it from a cat scratch or a bite, or from a tick sting, from fleas and other biting insects. And typically you'll get a symptom showing up within 1 to 2 weeks after you've been exposed.
Yeah. Yeah. So you might not even develop the rash that we spoke about, but you might just start having symptoms and not even know that you were exposed, because like we said, you might not get it from a tick sting. You could get it from a scratch. Everything can be carrying something, even mosquitoes.
Oh, for sure. And the common symptoms of Bartonella is the big one is brain dysfunction, right? So foot pain as well, plantar fasciitis type pain. And is that transient? Does that move?
So with the foot pain and the plantar fasciitis is when you hear someone say like, I wake up in the morning and I step on the floor and my feet hurt.
Yeah.
They just hurt. And you get it checked and you don't have plantar fasciitis. Your feet are super flexible, but you have this foot pain that just mostly you see it come in the morning time when you wake up.
And you've had that.
I sure have. I have
first-hand knowledge.
Experience with that.
Okay. Hallucinations. That's big. Headaches, again, mood changes, anxiety, depression, OCD, panic attacks. And in severe cases, there's brain encephalopathy, which is swelling of the brain, neuroretinitis, osteomyelitis. Not good. So Bartonella is going neurological in the brain at that point. And then also there's skin lesions, which are stretch marks that are not associated with being overweight or having been pregnant, a rash or a papule, like a small red bump, like a little bump. Also swollen lymph nodes and vasculitis. And vasculitis is just inflammation of
the vascular system.
The vascular system.
Yeah. So also with those, with the skin lesions, the stretch marks, the rashes, like a lot of people, they misdiagnose because they think they're stretch marks, but they look like a stretch marks.
Yeah.
But you'll see you'll see it in like on your side or around your torso or even on your arm. And that's a giveaway when you see that on somebody is, oh, you probably should get checked.
Wow. I mean,
and the swollen lymph nodes too. A lot of people have chronic swollen lymph nodes. Not sure why, but probably had Bartonella at some point in their body that was expressing itself.
Yeah, and the brain dysfunction. I mean, how would that present?
Brain fog, forgetting, being very forgetful, not being able to draw words.
Right. That makes sense though, because the mood and then the severe cases, it's when it's really going deep. Next, we have Babesia.
Yeah, Babesia is a sporozoan parasite. And this gets into the intercellular red blood cells, and it's similar to malaria. So you have some similar expressions like
Yeah,
malaria, like the
right.
tiredness and all. But these live inside your red blood cells and they replicate with red blood cell replication. And this opens up and it goes on and impacts other red blood cells. And this is definitely transmitted through ticks and other biting insects like mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Like we just said, malaria, we know that that's transmitted through mosquitoes. And then you can also get this, it's been shown to be transmitted through blood transfusions.
Delightful. So common symptoms of babesia are having a hunger for air, having a shortness of breath
And that's like,
because of the red blood cells.
yes, I
Right.
can't get enough breath in. And there's no other reason why, but
Yeah.
you just feel different times when you're just like, I feel like I can't get enough breath.
Yeah, it makes sense. And therefore you'd be anemic because of that, right? So anemia. Dark urine, is that more of like a liver affecting your liver or
Yeah.
yeah. Fatigue, tiredness because of the red blood cell compromised state, heart palpitations or heart racing, low oxygen levels, obviously night sweats, and upper neck and upper back pain.
So this, yeah, upper neck and upper back pain is very, it's so common in chiropractic offices because people come in and they're like, oh, my neck hurts. These are the people that feel like I need to get adjusted again. I
All the
just got
time.
adjusted. I need to go get
Right.
adjusted again 2 days later. I need to go get adjusted again because they keep feeling like they get an adjustment and it feels like it feels better.
Yeah.
But then that neck pain is back.
Yeah.
And it gets very stiff.
Right.
And the upper back too. And you can adjust these people and it clears them out symptomatically for a short period of time. But when you see it coming back consistently,
It's your
then
flag.
you know, like, okay, they've got babesia going on.
Babesia.
Babesia is a very tricky little critter.
And how would the average person know? They wouldn't have a clue, right? I mean, this is sort of nebulous. So there's a cycle of destruction. This is a clever little diagram here with the Lyme is the little truck and it's making a delivery. So how would you explain this?
So when we look at Lyme disease and the cycle of destruction, right? You have this, it's really an immune system insult.
Yeah.
So different things that are going to suppress our immune system. You have the radiation,
Yeah.
right? Suppressing immune function, toxic chemicals, herbicides, pesticides, fungicides. So all the stuff that we're being exposed to daily, heavy metals,
Yep.
From the air, from food, mycotoxins, which are being secreted by mold and fungal spores. And,
Yes.
mold is everywhere. It's not just in certain regions. They try to say it's more where there's humid areas,
Yeah.
but it's everywhere.
Totally.
There's so many houses, even new houses that have
yeah.
mold in
Totally.
the houses. So really, all of these things they start to suppress our immune system, and then Lyme, here comes the Lyme truck,
Yep.
and now it can express
Dump.
these symptoms.
You can
Yes.
just dump,
So,
secrete toxins.
yep. And then those Lyme start secreting toxins. The pH we start having ammonia issues, and the pH level rises because of what's going on when the Lyme, the different critters from stuff that we just talked about, they start to express and inside of the body.
Yep.
And as the pH changes, because ammonia is coming out as a byproduct.
Yeah,
Yes. So as this is happening in the body as a side effect, that's going to again destroy the tissue, and it starts, this big cycle just keeps going. So when people have chronic Lyme, one of the reasons they can't get rid of it is because, well, they don't really ever work on getting the parasites out. Right. So that throws their immune system off balance, because we know we have the two arms of the immune system that we talk about, the Th1
Yep.
and the Th2. So how could the body get ahead of itself and really clear these Lyme critters out when the immune system is not
So
functioning?
compromised. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And the parasites are overtaking the system. And like we talked about last time, with CellCore, we go in and we start with the parasites, right?
Yes.
Instead of going in and killing.
Yes, just destroy,
kill,
cut, slash and burn, right?
Yes, kill the Lyme bug. Let's
No.
kill this. Let's kill that.
Doesn't work.
What does it do?
That's antibiotics.
Right.
It just like clear cuts the whole intestinal flora, fauna.
Yeah, and what does it do to your immune system? Takes it
Down.
even more.
That's it.
So now you're getting this chronic repetitive cycle.
Right. So all of these things that are influencing the body, that's why CellCore is so great at removing that burden and that toxic load. Then you can actually get your head above water.
And why we do it in the specific order that we do. Very important.
Yeah. And then we break that down further on the next call.
Yes.
The 5 phases and how they're so intentional with why they are laid out that way. It's very specific. So then we have radium, anyone?
So it's a radioactive element, and it's, if you can look at the map that we have up here, and these are all the places, and you see it's mostly the middle to eastern side of the country, where radium is very common, and it's in our water supply.
Yes.
So in our houses, in different types of environments that we're being exposed to. And again, what is this doing? It's depleting our immune system.
Yeah.
Right. And people are not aware of that. But again, with CellCore, this is some of the stuff that we help to remove from the body. And again, you want to be aware of what are you doing every day, so you're not putting this stuff back in,
of course,
as we're taking it all out, right?
Exactly.
So what are some ways that we suggest to people?
Virad Chem, the name Virad is the radioactive. So taking that binder religiously just helps mitigate the accumulation of this.
Yeah, and all that radiation, and water, drinking distilled water,
of course,
right? And the stuff you're using every day on your skin.
Yes. Don't put it back in.
Don't put it back in. So all these things that you are learning and doing with CellCore along the way, what are you using in your houses?
Yeah.
Do you have a new carpet on your floor?
Yes.
All of this stuff that's part of your environment is breaking your immune system down slowly. So it all has to become something that you're very aware of. Totally.
And not only just cleansing this, but what pan are you cooking with? Like the chemicals on the nonstick pan, right?
Yes.
It's another thought of, oh, well, that's going to influence what I ingest and what else translates into my system. So beauty products, that's a huge one.
Yes.
Nail polish, anything you put on your face, your creams.
What are you washing your laundry in?
Yeah.
What does your spouse do for a living?
Yeah.
And getting on their body or on their clothing and coming home.
And then you inhale it.
Or the kids get exposed to it.
Yeah.
So all of these things are very important to think about, because, we're talking about chronic Lyme, but we're also talking about how does the immune system get into a situation where it's depleted, where things like chronic Lyme can just
deliver the truck at your doorstep, right?
Yeah.
Right. And this is a live link. It's a website that you can go to that will show you the radium levels in the country. And it's changed from this slideshow. So here we have 80% of Texas water is contaminated. There's a study that identified over 3,500 different public utilities that contained excessive radium contamination, and the services provided water to a staggering 22 million people, and that is 80% of the population of the entire state. It has a disproportionate amount of radium contamination, and I'm not sure why that is, but that is Texas.
Oh no, they don't know. They do a lot of different oil drilling. I don't know. It's environmental. Probably, for sure, but
it's terrible. It's a terrible thing. And then we have the radium belt in Wisconsin.
Yeah, so a lot of people in Wisconsin, there's a lot of Lyme cases that are from this area. So you have to think about, again, connecting the dots to see, like, could your water be depleting your body and making you sick? So it's just one one more thing that's going to break your body down so these things can express.
That's right.
Right? Because we're all exposed to all of this.
Oh, totally.
We have all of these different bacteria and virus type things in our body.
Yep.
So
it's not a cause and effect thing. It's not, I got stung by this and now I have this. It's chipping away at the body, at the system. And then this can
express.
Exactly, right. So this is showing that there was excessive amounts of radium in the water supply as well. And that was from Green Bay through Milwaukee to Illinois, all the way down. So this swath right here. And
yeah, so these radioactive elements like this, they are, they're in the deep,
the aquifers.
Yeah, aquifers deep in the water. And then like, if you look at the aquifers in Florida, they're right on, they have a lot of different pesticides and herbicides in Florida from their farming. And, you kind of wonder, well, what's seeping into the water supply?
Yeah, well.
So really important that you drink distilled water.
And this is saying that as public water systems drill deeper, because there's higher demands for water, there's more radium that's turning up in the water because of the demand. In Florida, my God, there's this mass migration to Florida. There's so many golf courses, right? Mm-hmm. There's just, talk about demand. That's really.
Oh, and one of the big radioactive elements we see in Connecticut is uranium.
Mm-hmm.
And uranium is not something that we would think about. I'm going to go get tested and see if I have uranium in my system, but it's huge in Connecticut. So I have had patients that have had uranium test positive in their tox panel for uranium with water systems on their houses that are like, I've paid $10,000 for this water system.
Wow.
And still showing up uranium. And I'm like, well, can you get a distiller now?
That's really disappointing because that company probably said to the effect that it would remove that, right? Like theoretically. So that's a whole nother story, but
all these things are, right now we're, discussing these radioactive elements, but they're all part of what goes into breaking the body down and creating transitions in the body to how the body's going to take a bacteria or something and express something else out of it.
Exactly.
Right.
Totally. It makes sense though. And this is just some of the heavy burden. So we could end it there. This is our last slide. We're gonna keep going.
Yeah. A little bit more.
All right. Then we get into glyphosate. So I think during the last call, there was some heavy smoke and fire coming from Nova Scotia or Quebec or a bunch of different areas in Canada. And we had mentioned that they spray their trees there with glyphosate. And so this article is from 2020, and it's stating that basically every year, British Columbia sprays about 10,000 hectares of forest with glyphosate as a part of its reforestation program, right? So this is since ceased. However, 10,000 hectares, how much is that? Well, here we have it, 24,000 acres. And then what happens when that actually goes up in flames? So this is British Columbia, that's on the other side of the country where these fires were coming from is, I guess it was Quebec and Nova Scotia, right? Either way, if they're doing this on that side of the country, most likely it's going to be done on the east as well. And the point is that sort of toxic cloud and smoke burning comes and travels and people inhale that. So there's a connection here.
Yeah, because the glyphosate is a major issue in the world. Yeah. And, they are finding it in the cord bloods of
fetuses. Right?
Yeah, and infants. Yeah. And so it's a very toxic substance that depletes your immune system again. So having all of this stuff in our environment is weakening us as humans, right? So we have all this amazing stuff like HMET binder that can pull out, it's made for pulling out glyphosate. And specifically, we have seen it do that in as little as 3 weeks. Yeah, so it's very powerful. But this stuff is important to educate yourself on. Glyphosate, weed killer. Is your neighbor using it? Is it running into your yard? You know,
but the way that they present it is it's a herbicide and it's so good. Like this article states, like it's saying, oh, they spray it to give a species of plants a better chance because it kills competing species. Well, is that selective? Is it intentional? Like what? So then that's one way to present it to the public.
Yes.
But if you look at Dr. Stephanie Seneff's book, which she wrote, Toxic Legacy, it breaks down brilliantly what glyphosate does in the body. It's just extremely destructive. So that could be a whole call in and of itself, a whole nother Zoom, honestly, which I think we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
So anyhow, disturbing weed killer ingredient tied to cancer found in 80% of US urine samples. So this is the CDC study. The CDC has only recently started examining the extent of human exposure to glyphosate in the US. I think before, like the latest information, the CDC was like, oh no, it's fine. So this study is saying that it's a controversial ingredient that is present in urine samples. So
yeah, 2,310 urine samples were taken from a group of Americans intended to represent the US population. 1,885 were laced with detectable traces of glyphosate, and almost a third of the participants were children from ages to 6 to 18. Yeah. So ages 6 to 18 having glyphosate in the urine.
Yeah.
So where are they getting it from?
Yep.
Right. And what's happening to the children in our country? They're getting more illnesses faster. You know, we know the story. So bringing your awareness to this product, because we know that we know the story. We're talking about Lyme, but again, what's busting down the immune system?
Exactly.
What's breaking it down? This is a big part of it here.
And kids are, 6 to 18, they're going to be outside. They're going to be in the grass. They're going to be at parks. They're going to be playing. They're going to be on the ground.
Soccer.
Exactly.
After school activities, you name it. Oh, and then food.
Yeah.
Goldfish. Kids love goldfish. Goldfish is so high in glyphosate. It's off the chart.
So
I have
why?
I have the amounts in there, and it exceeds what is the allowable amount.
But why? Why is it in there?
Because of the wheat that they grow. They spray the wheat.
It's not non-GMO.
Yeah.
Right?
Nope. They
So
spray
it's been
it
treated
because they want to make it easier to process, basically.
Right. And also the other thing with the GMOs is that it's gonna end world hunger. It's gonna feed the world. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Okay. Good time. So that's probably a good place to stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good snapshot of like just part of all the things that are coming at you with toxins, some heavy metals, some environmental stuff, the GMO stuff, the glyphosate,
radioactive elements, things that we covered. So what we're going to do when we get into the next talk is we're going to bring everything we just talked about and go deeper into the body. So we gave you the basic different like forms of Lyme co-infections, and then we went into the a couple of different radioactive elements, some environmental toxins that are weakening the body. But what we're going to get into in our next talk is we're going to get into really what happens when we have different types of bacteria in our body and in our immune system. What is the new science showing how things can change from one form to another form inside our body?
Yeah.
So,
which is fascinating.
Yes, it's very fascinating. And this is a little bit introduction, and then we'll get into a little bit of the germ theory
Mhm.
and then the terrain theory,
Yep.
and then we'll tie it into like the quantum sensoring and a few other things. And we're going to wrap it back up into how all of that is affected in Lyme, and then more ways to treat.
Yeah, what products are helpful
Yeah.
for Lyme and what has been specifically curated beautifully by CellCore to target Lyme.
Yeah.
So
But it's really important to learn this new science, because it's not really being talked about anywhere, but seeing how things can change inside of our body from one species to another species internally.
yeah, it's fascinating, but it's very disturbing. But it's like I'd rather know than not know. We'd rather share with you and talk about this. It's really important to understand.
So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks time. The full moon is the beginning of July.
3rd, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's the 3rd. So ramping up for your full moon protocol appropriately. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to fire away in the chat.
And if not, you can send your questions to parapix trs@gmail.com.
Yes, and any pictures if you want to share. So if anyone else has anything, it's good to see you guys, and I hope that you enjoy the longest day of the year. It's still bright here in South Carolina. And have a great night.